Greetings, salutations, love, and respect. I am Scott from the Fire Note, and today in the Prog Corner, we are talking about one of my all-time favorite bands. Yes, today we are talking about, no, not yes. We are talking about Gentle Giant, and we are going to rank all 11 of their studio albums from worst to first. But first, a little background. If you're watching this video, you probably know who Gentle Giant are. You know who they are, and you may like them, you may not. They are one of the divisive bands in the scene. But I love them, and they started in 1970 from the ashes of Simon Dupree and the Big Sound, which was a band that put out one record and actually had a hit single. The song was called Kites. But the Shulman brothers were not happy with the direction the record label was pushing them. They were getting pushed towards a psychedelic thing, and they were more into the blue-eyed soul R&B sound. So Simon Dupree and the Big Sound broke up after one album, one hit single, and one touring musician by the name of Reginald Dwight, who apparently, when forming Gentle Giant, he actually auditioned to play keyboards, which is hard to even imagine Elton John playing in King Crimson or Gentle Giant. He auditioned for both. Yeah, just bizarre side note there. 1970, the band puts their first album out. 1980, they call it quits. The interesting thing about Gentle Giant is how greatness bookends their career. At the end of their run, lead singer Derek Shulman went into the executive side of the business, started wearing a suit. He became an artist management for Polygram. Then he went on to A&R with Mercury Records, at some point becoming president of Atco Records and ending up as president of Roadrunner. Along the way, he signed a lot of artists that you may be familiar with. Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Slipknot, Nickelback, and most importantly, Men Without Hats. I'm not going to be that guy today, but I think it's safe to say that the world is a better place because of the safety dance. So thank you, Derek Shulman, for all your hard work. The less said about Nickelback, the better. Indeed, at number 11 on the countdown, the absolute worst, the nadir of the discography. Yes, it is Giant for a Day. This thing is a giant stink bomb. It's an abomination. I hate every song on here. I hate the album cover, which tells you to cut along the dotted line, affix elastic to the mask, put on your mask, and be a giant for a day. It's even got like scissors and a dotted line. They want you to deface this album cover. They know how bad this thing is. Clearly. At number 10, its predecessor from 1977, The Missing Piece. Side 1 is all shorter pop songs. Side 2 is where things get a lot more interesting. It's got Memories of Old Days, which is a terrific song, and my favorite, For Nobody, which is actually one of my all-time favorite Gentle Giant tracks. So I do enjoy parts of this record. They were certainly trying to figure things out here. They recorded it in the Netherlands after recording almost all their albums at Advision. It's okay. I like it. At number 9, the debut album, Gentle Giant from 1970. The guys were obviously still trying to find their sound. A lot of this is slower. There's not as much prog craziness and weird time signatures and medieval instrumentation. But the songs are good. It starts with Giant, which kind of sets the tone for everything that they would do throughout their career. Funny Ways stayed in their set list till the very end. Alucard, probably the best song on here, is where they really find their sound and even named their record company after it. It's a good record, but they would go on to do much better things afterwards. At number 8, from 1980, their final album, Civilian. This thing's fixing to get reissued. If you don't have a copy, I actually highly recommend this thing. And I love how they do this with civilian written in the words Gentle Giant. That's cool. The band had decamped to Los Angeles at this point. They were burnt out on England and Europe. And Derek Shulman's trying to find a new sound for the band after the debacle that was Giant for a Day. And he did it. The band really did it. This is a really cool record. It's informed by the new wave sounds that were happening at the time. It's lighter, it's fresher, it doesn't feel as oppressive as some of those crazy workouts, counterpoint workouts that Gentle Giant does. The songs are fantastic. I really enjoy the single, Convenience, Clean and Easy, Underground, I Am a Camera. This is a great little record. Highly recommended. At number 7, 1976's Interview. This is a concept album about a fake interview the band was doing with a reporter, and they used that as an excuse to go on about the state of the music industry, blah, blah, blah. The quality was starting to slip a little bit on this album, but there's still some masterful moments. They're trying a couple new things. You got a little bit of reggae and Give It Back, which is kind of fun. Peel the Paint is the highlight off of here for sure. But you could tell that the record label was not giving Gentle Giant the kind of money that they needed. Their budget to record this was about half of what they had on the previous album. And it does kind of show. But I love it. At number 6, a lot of people's favorite Gentle Giant album, including Ray Shulman. Acquiring the Taste, their second album from 1971. And look at that disgusting album cover. For years, I couldn't really get past that album cover, but trust me, Acquiring the Taste is a very good album. It's really where the experimental side of Gentle Giant first gets off the ground. I really enjoyed the songs on here, Pantagruel's Nativity, Black Cat. I enjoy this album. It's probably their most diverse album. It covers a lot of different territory. Again, they're still kind of finding their footing. And in this case, it's a lot of fun. Yes, it is. At number 5, the album that came out right after it, 1972, and we've got Three Friends. This is the UK cover. For some reason, well, I know the reason, but this was the US version, which is the same artwork as the debut, but Three Friends was the first album released in the US, so Columbia in their infinite wisdom decided to reuse the first album artwork. I don't understand that. They'd regret it later when they'd go back and reissue the first one, but Three Friends, yes, Three Friends, that's what we're talking about. This album is really the first Gentle Giant album that they are sounding like a cohesive whole. The jazzier parts are kind of being brought down. They're bringing up some of the more experimental stuff. Mr. Class and Quality, Peel the Paint, Working All Day. I love this album. I really do. This record gets me excited. All right, what's next up? What's next up on the hit parade, kids? Oh, I know what's next, and I'm excited about it. Speaking of record labels not doing Gentle Giant any favors at all, how about their American label wouldn't even release In a Glass House? 1973, the follow-up to Octopus, and the American label said, no, we don't want anything to do with this. This is the first album without older brother Phil. So they're down to a 5-piece. It rocks a little harder than the previous stuff. I love this album. To me, this album is perfect. It's got Experience, The Runaway, the title track's great, but my favorite song on here is Way of Life. Oh, it's good. It is so good. The theme of record labels screwing this band over continues with number 3, Octopus from 1972. So you've got Roger Dean commissioned to do your album cover, and he knocks it out of the park with this bad boy. He's doing album covers for Yes, he's doing album covers for Uriah Heep, and Yes is huge in the US, so let's do a different album cover for the US market, shall we? It made no sense. And then the promoters were putting them on the road with some bands that made sense, like Jethro Tull and Yes, but then they were sticking them on bills with bands like Black Sabbath, and they'd get booed off the stage, and it's just weird. This album is amazing. I love it. I love it. It's 8 tracks. That's the octo thing. It's supposed to be octo opus, was where the name came from. It's got knots on it. It's got everything you want from a Gentle Giant album. A lot of people would put this at #1, and I would not argue with them. Boys in the Band, the advent of Panurge. This album is perfection. I love it. At #2, The Power and the Glory, another concept album. This time we're in the realm of political skullduggery, and the memories of Watergate are still fresh in everyone's mind. So the songs revolve around that. I really like this album. I love Proclamation. I love So Sincere. Cogs and Cogs is a song that I actually use to introduce people, not just to Gentle Giant, but to prog in general. A 4-minute song that has everything thrown in there. Their label wanted them to do a single, so the reissues have the title track, which I really like that song too. It's never been included on a vinyl issue. But that's #2. So there can only be one. Only can be one #1, and it is from 1975. The masterpiece that is Freehand. This baby's recently been mastered and remixed by Steven Wilson. Anyone that knows prog music should know this album, should know this band, and should know the songs on this album. From the finger snaps of Just the Same through to the choral perfection of On Reflection, all the way to Mobile, which is, again, just a great song, one of my favorite Gentle Giant tracks. This album is perfect. Freehand, you should own it. And I did not include the live album, but I'm going to show it because it needs to be mentioned. Playing the Fool might be the best live album ever. I mean, I love Seconds Out. I love Yes songs. I love Kansas 2 for the show. I love Jethro Tull Bursting Out, but this is probably better than them all. If you don't have it, check it out. They do a lot of different versions of songs, so it's not just hearing live versions, like second-rate versions of the songs you like. They totally rework them, and it's just phenomenal. But that is my wrap-up. All 11 Gentle Giant studio albums, from worst to first, and a little background on the band. So thank you for showing up. This is my first video at over 100 subscribers. I thank you guys. The last video I shot, I think I had 60. So we've almost doubled it since I shot my last video. And I really thank everybody. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And I am Scott from the Fire Note, hanging out in the Prog Corner, which is in Ohio, by the way. And I will see you on the flip side.